Well, hello, and welcome to the AzureWell podcast. I'm Susan Booth, and we're here today to talk about hair, skin, and nails. And Dr. Alfonso Monzo is joining me. He's a biblical naturopath doctor. And Dr. Monzo, hair, skin, and nails. Does that really have anything to do with our health?
Yes. So thank you for having me again. So here you can see hair, skin, and nails, your covering to health. So we're going to talk about what actually covers the body and its function. It might be surprising for a lot of people to know, maybe I'm a little ahead of myself in the slides, but your skin specifically is the largest organ in the body. So a lot of people don't think about it that way, but the skin is considered an organ and it has all kinds of important functions. So we're going to get into those. Now, when we get into this, the first thing I like to do is cover the um, outline of what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the purpose and function of your hair, skin, and nails, root causes to issues with them, again, lifestyle, and then nutrition, and what we can do with Azure supplements to help your hair, skin, and nails. So when we get into this, the first thing we're going to talk about is really the skin. Since it is the largest organ of the body, it has 3 layers. So the outer layer is called the epidermis. Epi is above. Dermis is the second layer, which is the second layer of the skin. And then there's actually a hypodermis layer, which is below that. And that's usually the skin is more classified as just the epidermis and the dermis, but the third layer is still there, and that's more of the fat, and it starts getting into the connective tissue and muscles and stuff. Now, what does it do? Well, one of the big things as a covering, it acts as a barrier against pathogens and toxins and mechanical injury to some degree. Now, usually the skin is supposed to help keep things out, but the skin is actually very absorbent. So, one of the things that we do have to be careful of is what we put into our bodies or on our bodies. Um, that includes showering. Uh, your body absorbs more water in a shower than it does actually drinking water. So, when I have toxins on here, I'm not talking about uh, the body's ability or how the skin can absorb. What I'm talking about here is the skin is part of the last line down here, the elimination channels. So, one of the elimination channels of the body that helps get toxins out is your skin. So, the largest one is our livers. And after the livers, you really have your intestines, you have the lymphatic system, you have your kidneys, you have the lungs, and then you have the skin. So, then the skin also regulates body temperature and helps to eliminate um, waste through sweat. So, it gets rid of water, it releases water through sweating. And that is one of the ways your body tries to detox sometimes. Now, it's not the most effective way. And if the elimination systems really get backed up, uh, that usually results in the skin breaking out, which we'll probably get more into that when we get to the causal categories. But that's a big issue with skin is the other elimination channels not working right and the skin trying to do it all. And that's not a good idea. So some things maybe people don't think about with skin.
Well, yeah, it
And
sounds like stuff comes in through the skin and stuff goes out through the skin. So it doesn't really feel like it's much of a barrier at all. It's just a matter if, what is supposed to come in versus what is supposed to go out and yeah, that's a different way to look at it.
yeah, almost like a doorway.
There you go.
But that is true. So typically, the skin is really only acting as a barrier when it's not broken.
Mhm,
And of course, this is one of the major issues with cuts
mhm.
or any type of trauma to the body. When the skin becomes broken, it's easier for those pathogens and things to get into the blood, or into the body and then into the blood. So, um, how well does it do really at keeping toxins out of the body? I don't think as well as what people would like to think.
Mm,
And I think that's one of the misnomers. Um, when you get into any type of profession or industry where you're working with chemicals all the time and you're not wearing gloves or you're not wearing the proper clothes, I know it's always interesting sometimes to see people in neighborhoods that like to keep their yards perfectly green and they like to spray them all the time with all those nasty pesticides like glyphosate. And they'll be out there in their shorts, spraying away. And it's like, it's getting all on your legs
mhm,
and that's going to be absorbed right through the skin.
mhm,
So
mhm,
that's why I wanted to reiterate the barrier really is only against pathogens.
mhm,
And as toxins, it's not a barrier against toxins, but it helps eliminate toxins, really. And then, of course, there's mechanical injury. It's a covering. So, right, your muscles and your nerves and everything aren't being directly pressed upon and rubbed.
mhm.
I think that's all for skin for night now. So we're gonna move on to hair and nails. And I kind of put the hair and the nails together. They have a little bit of slightly different functions, obviously, but uh, for the most part, they share a lot of the same purposes and functions. And that is, they are part of the skin. They look different, but they do add a level of protection. And especially when you think of your nails, they provide a strong, rigid. Um, I don't want you want to. I wouldn't call. I mean, it's obviously not skeletal. It's a nail, but uh, it gives you that strong structural foundation on the top of your fingers, which then helps with the finger pads and helps with the sensitivity. I don't know if anyone has ever had a hangnail or part of a nail ripped off, and you realize how sensitive your finger really becomes when it doesn't have that structure.
Mhm,
I think that's the word I was looking for. It's a structure there that allows the fingers to do a lot more because you have something you use hard to push up against with the finger pads, right? If there was
mhm,
nothing on the opposite side of your finger and then you were just pressing on here, there's no structure, so you would have more problems. So it's really interesting. The fingernails provide that structure protection there, and even the hair on the body can provide a level of protection. What else do they do? Regulation, and that is regulation of temperature. Even the fingernails provide some level of protection here with insulation and preventing heat loss through the fingertips. But then the hair, and oftentimes, depending on sex and ethnicity, and all these different your race and all kinds of different things, you might have more body hair than other people. Some people have a lot of body hair. Some people have very little body hair, but you can have body hair all over. Some people, especially men, have a lot more. Um, and in our culture, women tend to shave a lot more hair off than men in certain places. Men typically have shorter hair on top of the head, and women have longer. But it is another way of helping to keep heat in the body is the hair. And then you have the biological psychosomatic social functions, which obviously self-esteem, the emotions, attractiveness. I think everyone knows the idea of the attractiveness of long hair for women, and that's why some people even have head coverings that cover their hair. Interesting enough, the hair is actually described as a covering uh, on the body in the scriptures. And then the last one there is sensory, and with function. And this is interesting. I can get into this a little bit more here than what's on the screen, but obviously there's receptors with related to touch, pressure, vibration, awareness, and balance, which is really interesting because we had um, and interesting studies that were done because of the Vietnam War. And this gets into more of a spiritual aspect, I think, too, with hair. But in Vietnam, one of the big problems we had was tracking the Vietnamese and them sneaking up on us and being able to hide very well in the jungle.
mhm,
And we had a hard time with that. So, one of the ideas was to bring in some authentic Native Americans who were really good at tracking, and you really couldn't sneak up on them, and to bring them in to help the soldiers. Well, they brought in the Native Americans, but they weren't really able to help. And they kept getting snuck up on at night when they were sleeping in other ways, and they lost their tracking ability.
Hmm.
So the military started doing a whole study on why are they not tracking as well now as they did before. And they came to the conclusion it's because they shaved their hair. And hair actually acts almost like a sixth sense and helps with certain perceptions and awarenesses of the environment. And when they had long hair, they had better ability to track and perceive things. So, really interesting when you think of women typically have longer hair and typically are the more spiritually sensitive of the sexes. And is that have something to do with long hair? And then you think of stories of Samson and other things, and it's like, this is really interesting. It's like hair acts as a antenna. So the longer the hair, the better antenna you have to pick up things from the environment. So a little extra here for extra little tidbits that you usually don't hear other places.
There we go.
So really interesting on the hair topic. But those are the functions of your hair and the nails, and obviously very important.
Mhm.
And then there are all kinds of, I don't know if you want to call them diagnostic applications, usually found more in Chinese medicine. And different cultures will have hair, nail, and tongue evaluations where they can ascribe different issues to how your hair, skin, nails, and tongue looks. If there's different ridges in your nails, if there's cracks in your nails, all these different things. The moons on the nail, if you have a full moon or no moons, all these things are usually different signs of different nutritional deficiencies and mineral deficiencies. So there's a whole art to doing evaluations with just looking at people's nails, skin, hair, and tongue. So kind of interesting. Now, root causes to issues with these. Well, obviously, number one, again, we're going to hit is nutritional deficiencies. Since the skin, hair, and nails are part of the largest organ in the body, it requires a lot of nutrients for these things to grow and replace themselves. And as our nutritional deficiencies get worse, the skin will age faster, the color can change, fall out, things might not grow as well. So nutritional deficiency is a big one here. And of course, we have to throw in that big word again, copper.
Mhm.
Guess what gives us our color? It's the copper that helps the body with the color, with the melanin. So copper is a big one. And of course, copper is really big in connective tissue. And the skin is classified as part of the connective tissue of the body. So there's other minerals, there's other vitamins that we're going to get into. Toxins, another big one. Toxins affect everything. And of course, the skin is one of them. And I kind of described that already, that we have 6 major elimination channels in the body. And if they're not, if the first 5 aren't eliminating well, which is not uncommon in these days, then the skin tries to do it all. And that doesn't turn out too well. And there is a whole study in this too called, it's really German medicine, called homeotoxicology. And it talks about how diseases occur in the body because of the 5, is it 6? I think it's 5 phases of homotoxicology. See, I haven't been in the books for so long. But the first one is called when your body is trying to excretion phase. So the excretion phase is the first phase, and that's your body trying to sweat things out of the body. And guess what's doing that? The skin. So when you get stuff in the body, your body tries to excrete it. Skin is sweating. Now the other organs of the body do other ways of excreting, right? The liver is filtering things out and flushing it out. The bowels, which was one of them, help move things out. The lymph is a filtering system that collects stuff from the body and filters it out. The kidneys absorb what they need from the body to reabsorb what your body needs, and then it excretes what you don't need out of the body. And then the lungs, the same thing, the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. So the lungs is excreting the carbon dioxide and sometimes toxins along with that. So all of these systems, the 6 elimination systems of the body, are responsible for excreting toxins out. And of course, that's one of the big things we want to do in natural health care is help the body get stuff out.
Mhm.
Modern medicine usually comes along and blocks the body. If you have poison in your stomach, foodborne illness, you ate bad food, you got food poisoning, and it's in the stomach, what does your body want to do? It wants to throw up. The medical field usually comes along and says, no, 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 no. Throwing up is not convenient. We don't like this. Suppress it.
Mhm.
If it moves on into the intestines, you might get diarrhea. Of course, what do we want to do? We want to stop the diarrhea because it's not pleasant. If your body's trying to eliminate and excrete things out, a lot of times the medical approach is to stop that. But what happens is that suppresses phase 1, and then things move into phase 2. Phase 2 is inflammation. So now the body's going to heat it up and try to kill things off by heating it, or maybe the heat causes more sweating. So the body causes the inflammation in the body to trigger the next phase of trying to get the stuff out. Of course, in the medical field, we don't like fevers. We don't like being inflamed. So what do? Anti-inflammatories suppress the fever. And what does that do? It forces the progression of the problem to the next phase. So now instead of inflammation, it's phase 3. And see, what is phase 3? That's not phase 3. Phase 3 is deposition, I think. See, now I need to brush up on my old books. And because phase 4 is impregnation. So I think it starts depositing it not quite in the cells, but on the outside of the cells, but inside the body. So what we'd call the interstitial space, the space between the cells and inside the skin. And so that starts depositing it there. And then if we still can't get it out and it moves deeper into the body, then it's called impregnation. And that's when it gets inside the cell. So now the toxins are inside the cell. And this is where you're going to start having really major problems because now you're going to start messing with cellular function. And then eventually it goes to the last phase, which is degeneration, where the cells start to change because the toxins are there. So see, the approach is the body wants to get the toxins out. We don't want them working deeper and deeper and deeper into the tissues and into the cells.
Mhm.
That's exactly what happens. And unfortunately, a lot of modern medicine encourages the suppression of the symptoms and doesn't encourage the body to do what it wants to do, which is, excuse me, detox and get the toxins out.
Mhm.
So obviously that's going to affect the skin because the
Mhm.
skin is going to try to make up for those other 5 elimination systems that aren't working. And usually you break out in some type of something, a rash or eczema or psoriasis, all these different names of, we don't know, here's some steroids.
Mm.
Usually that's what happens to skin. You have a breakout, you go to the doctor, they don't know what is the cause, they have a name for you, and then they have some drugs for you.
Mm.
Is that actually doing anything? Well, now you're suppressing the excretion again and pushing the disease deeper into the system.
Mm.
So it usually doesn't ever really fix the problem.
Mhm.
Gut health. Well, gut health is on there for a couple reasons. One, because a lot of the intestines is part of the elimination channels, right? Especially the large intestine. Its job is to eliminate that fecal waste.
Mm.
And now the gut also has all these good probiotics in there, good gut bacteria. And one of the big problems with skin, specifically acne, is oftentimes a blood sugar issue and a gut issue. And everything we eat gets turned into sugar and absorbed by the cells, and the cells have the sugar for energy, and they're able to perform. And there's other things our body uses for energy that's oftentimes more effective than just sugar. directly, fats and minerals. But the body uses sugar. Now, the body can't process the sugar and the cells aren't absorbing it. That excess of sugar gets into the gut, gets into different places, and feeds bacteria. And then you start getting bad bacteria overgrowth in the gut, and then eventually it spills out into the skin. And then you can get different breakouts. Now, there's other things you can get with skin breakouts that are related to other organisms like fungus. Fungus is a big one. And again, that could be because of how the gut is performing and how your body is processing food, how it's processing the good uh, microbiome versus the bad critters that move into the body.
Hmm.
Hormones, a lot of hormone issues and dysregulation can cause the skin to freak out and break out and do all kinds of things.
Hmm.
Hormones, big part of the skin. Connective tissue, because the skin is made out of connective tissue. So if you have connective tissue weaknesses, which does come back to the nutritional deficiency to some degree, but it's still kind of a separate category, then you can have problems with the hair, skin, and nails. And a lot of times, connective tissue is more thought of with joints, but not necessarily. There's a lot of different types of connective tissue,
Hmm.
and the hair, skin, and nails is one of them. And now, when we get into the looking at the body more from an energetic perspective, different layers of skin are divided into different, you could call them categories of how energy functions in the body. So they have their own specific functions. And then that gets into that is where the mental emotional states would come in, because different layers of skin could have different effects based on mental emotional.
Hmm.
Like the epidermis, outer layer of skin. And in my main life's work, the Alata body system,
Hmm.
be considered what we would call first cycle. And all the energy in the body that works in first cycle governs the outer layer of skin, the epidermis. And that is highly related to worry and being preoccupied, or worry and anxiety. Now, second cycle would be the second layer of skin, the dermis. That's called the deep skin. And the dermis is second cycle, and second cycle energy is related to sadness and grief.
Hmm.
So a lot of times you will see between those two emotions and those two cycles, a lot of skin problems come back to separation anxiety, and where the person kind of has this worry, sadness, and separation issues. And a lot of that will affect skin issues.
Wow.
The last one is just damage caused to the skin, whether you cut yourself or just abusing the skin. So damage to the skin, putting, as I said earlier, if you have some type of job where you work with a lot of chemicals and you're not wearing gloves, um, using harsh cleaners. A lot of people will notice if you use harsh cleaners all the time, your skin start getting dry and crackly, and we don't want that. So
Hmm.
there we go. Those are the causes or root causes to hair, skin, and nail issues.
So, real quick question on that damage thing. You and I have talked about scar tissue before. So, where does scar tissue fit in with the skin? Just a quick rundown on scar tissue with skin.
Yeah, so the scar tissue is a big issue, and that definitely affects the skin. That would be more of a topic in the line of bioenergetics, because the biggest problem with scars, besides cosmetic, is scars are an interference pattern for the flow of electromagnetic energy in the body. So the energy cannot flow a lot of times through scar tissue. And it doesn't matter if it's external or internal. Now, most of the time, if you have an external scar, it's also internal, and people just don't realize it. And it can create scar tissue or even adhesions. And now the adhesions from scars, now that can actually affect you physically, as in that's something you can physically touch and see and feel. Whereas the bioelectromagnetic systems of the body, you don't necessarily see those. you see cause and effect, right? It's physics. So just like in physics, we can see the cause and effect of magnetism or gravity or anything we would put in the realm of physics. You don't necessarily see electromagnetism. You don't necessarily see what they call gravity out there, but you see the cause and effect of it. And so this makes it very hard for the modern medical field to understand because they don't believe in this stuff. They think it's all nonsense. And then you get people who think it's all new age and voodoo or witchcraft. And it's like, no, no, no. These things have been measured. We can measure them now. They've been measured a number of different ways. So they exist in the body. So now we have to come up with an answer. Where did they come from? Surely they weren't made by Satan. So these systems were made by the creator and they're part of the communication systems of the body. And when we have scar tissue, it blocks the communication of that energy. And the best way really to think about the electromagnetic energy systems of the body is they are part of the body's innate wisdom. So they are the telecommunication systems of the body. And they're really the software of the body. And so they're responsible for communicating all kinds of information by frequency via light throughout the body. So our body is a light system. And when that those pathways that are carrying that light energy of frequency throughout the body gets blocked, then information from one location is not getting to another location. So the innate wisdom of the body starts breaking down, and then you can get all kinds of different problems because of it. And so it is related to the skin because oftentimes that is what is cut, and that is where the scar tissue is in the skin. But usually it's deeper also.
Interesting.
Yeah, major thing. And hopefully in the future, Azure is going to work on maybe some amazing products to help with scar tissue and other things. So
That's the plan.
that's the plan. Lifestyle. Okay, well, some very basic things you can do for skin. Number one, hydration, right? Hydration is very important. The majority of our body is water. And when we have nice, healthy, hydrated skin, it's, you can think of it like any animal. We have a lot of fabrics that are made out of animals, and we can think of hides and leather. When we have things like that are made out of skins of animals, when they are hydrated, they're nice and pliable and flexible. But if that leather or the hide dries out, it starts becoming brittle and hard and breaks. And the skin's the same way, right? If we keep the body hydrated, the skin is nice and pliable and flexible. And that's what you want. You want it flexible and pliable so it can bend and have some give to it. Otherwise, it becomes hard and brittle. And then that means it's easier to crack, easier to break, easier to cut. And we don't want that. And of course, that's what starts happening with wrinkling. The skin loses its hydration and then it starts wrinkling up and becomes, the skin color can start changing and all those type of things. So we want proper hydration. And, no one's ever done a scientific study on how much water you really need. So a lot of this is just stuff that's been passed on through the ages. And maybe it's true or not, but it's always been taught half your body weight in ounces. But unfortunately, there's no pharmaceutical company that has, $1 million to spend on studying whether or not water is good for you because they can't make a drug that's a water pill. Well, maybe if they could do that, they would. So, that's the problem we have in the natural health world is a lot of times we don't have all the money the pharmaceutical companies have to do studies to tell you exactly how much water you should be drinking. But that is a good goal, about half your body weight in ounces. Sleep, getting plenty of sleep. And that kind of goes along with stress management. So stress management is another one. You want to be reducing the stress in your life. You want to be sleeping. Sleep is important because when your body is sleeping, your body is healing. And since the skin is the largest organ in the body, it's being replaced all the time, just like everything else in the body. Everything in the body is always breaking down and being replaced. And if you're replacing old skin cells and hair and nail with new healthy skin, hair, and nails, the aging process would be very slow.
Mm.
When the aging process speeds up, it's because your body's not making healthy skin and nails anymore. And the more unhealthy it is, the faster you age, which is why some people who are very young look old, and some people who are very old look younger,
Mhm.
because it's the quality of the cells your body's reproducing. And when is your body going to heal the most? During sleep. So if you're not getting quality sleep, your skin, hair, and nails aren't going to be able to regenerate as well.
And I've been told that that's getting your beauty rest. And it's true that if you didn't sleep well, or if you haven't slept well in a couple of nights or whatever, that, you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're learning. But yet, if you've had a very good night's sleep and you felt good, then you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, I don't look that bad. That sleep does seem to make a big difference in how you look and feel. It's just amazing. Um,
Yes. And of course, it's across the board. So it's not this skin, hair, and nails, but every function of the body. You need
mhm,
your healthy sleep.
mhm,
And it always seems like some people can get along with less sleep in life, but then you also wonder, like, does that, are you eventually, is it eventually going to catch up with you?
yeah.
So get your 8 hours.
There was a study that I read about recently about how people who don't get as much sleep, and I don't know what the number was or anything, but yeah, they're more prone to mental problems like Alzheimer's and things like that. So just because you can go with less sleep may not mean that it's optimal to go with less sleep.
Exactly. It's like a lot of things in natural health.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes you need to pay more now so you don't pay more later.
Mhm.
And that includes your sleep, getting quality sleep, getting quality food. Oh, well, it costs more. Oh, yeah, but you know what? That hospital bill is going to be a lot more if you don't eat the quality food.
Mhm.
And so, guess what's next? Limit the bad foods,
Mhm.
quality foods. So, get away from those sugars and fried foods and too many carbs, etc. And of course, don't forget all the other stuff, GMOs and synthetics and all, stuff
Mhm.
that comes out of the box that's not real food. We need to get away from all these types of bad foods that, in all purpose, probably isn't even considered food. I
Mhm.
don't know if our ancestors would even recognize it as food sometimes, the stuff that you can find in the store.
Mhm.
And so this is the same thing. If we spend more money on quality food, we're going to be healthier and your skin's going to be healthier. And you're going to be surprised that you probably don't need to eat as much food, because when you're eating quality food, you're getting nutrient dense food that's not empty.
Mhm.
There's a thing called empty calories, food that really isn't giving you your 90 essential nutrients.
Mhm.
And so you're really not getting anything from the food. And so your body's always hungry. So a lot of times people are surprised they eat a lot more food because you're not spending the money buying quality food.
Mhm.
And of course, eventually, if the body starts breaking down, you're going to spend a whole lot of money in the hospital than you would just eating a good diet
Mhm.
of good quality food. Next, improve detox or elimination. So that's a big one. We'll probably have a whole podcast just on that topic one day.
Mhm.
Heal the gut and eliminate critters, and then balance hormones. Now, some of these we have already done podcasts on. So when we get into the supplements for these things, I'm not going to provide supplements for every single little thing that could be on the lifestyle list, because we did a podcast on digestion. We've done a podcast on hormones. We've done one on immune system. So you might need to go back to some of those to learn more on those things. But this is a general lifestyle improvement, and we're going to get to more specific things here in a minute on supplements. So next, nutrition to improve your hair, skin, and nails. So one of the big things you're going to see everywhere is increase your proteins and increase your fats. And so people are going to mention things like eggs and nuts and salmon and greens. Why? Well, because a lot of these things contain your proteins, they contain your fats, they contain your B vitamins, they contain your A, E, and K. They contain copper and selenium. So all these things that are listed here. Improving antioxidants and pH. Again, greens and berries. Very important for the skin, since it is a berry and it takes the barrage of all the pressure of life, of things being rubbed up against your skin and hitting your skin. And so you need antioxidants and proper pH to keep that skin, again, pliable and flexible and healthy. B vitamins. And of course, we want whole food. B vitamins are very important because they also help with free radical damage. They help the actual structure and function of the skin. So foods that are high in B vitamins, or whole food supplements with your B vitamins in them. The A, E, and K, these are fat soluble vitamins. And of course, they're very important for skin. Copper, can't say it enough. Copper is so important for skin, and very little zinc. So we need a proper balance here. Zinc is important, but we have to remember the master is copper, and copper helps balance zinc in the body. But too much zinc will deplete your copper. So you really want to be careful with too much zinc. I like 15 milligrams or less if you're taking something with zinc in it. And it's always better to make sure you're getting a whole food, because you don't want the inorganic zinc. You want organically bound zinc, which is going to be a lot more usable in the body. Then you have selenium. So selenium is another powerful antioxidant. It's very powerful for hormone balance and defense mechanisms for the skin. Fatty acids, these are your essential fatty acids. So you have your omega-3, 6, 9, and you have your different essential fatty acids in the body that your body needs. And that's why they oftentimes list salmon and healthy fish to eat for skin, because it has your essential fatty acids. It has a lot of times retinol, which is your vitamin A, and hormone D. So don't forget hormone D. And what do you need for that? Sun. So sun to activate your hormone D, and then actually the sun helps your body make hormone D, which is why I call it a hormone. And it's really kind of a misnomer to call it a vitamin. It's not one of the essential nutrients. Now remember, essential nutrient, the definition of an essential nutrient is a nutrient your body needs daily but cannot make. So it has to come from environment. D, your body can make, which means it's actually not an essential nutrient, despite what a lot of the natural health world wants to convince you. It's actually a hormone, and it's made when you're out in the skin, or when your skin's out in the sun. And it's actually fat soluble, but it actually is a mechanism in the body to turn it into a water soluble hormone, which is really interesting. Or molecule. I don't even know if it's a hormone at that point. Who knows? But almost no one talks about that. Now, the other part of this is the A. The A gets activated by sunlight. So you need A in your diet, but then the sunlight helps activate it and take it through all of its processes, because there's a lot of different forms of A in the body. And from your plants, you get beta carotene, and from animals, you get retinol. And retinol is a really important form of A, and very hard for your body to make. With beta carotene, you need so much, it's almost impossible. And if you want to know more about that, go back to podcast number 1 when we covered the ceruloplasmin. We talked all about vitamin A and retinol and how important that is. So those are all the things your skin needs as far as nutrition. So when we look at the diet aspect of lifestyle, here are things you can do. So now, the best nutritional support for hair, skin, and nails. This is just basic nutrition. So the 90 essential nutrients would be the whole food multi. Now, I didn't put that on here because we're kind of more focusing on the copper. But if you wanted the whole food multi, if you wanted the 90 essential, remember that is the whole food multi, the Atlantic cod liver oil, and the fulvic humeric minerals. But because the most important thing for skin is fats and minerals, I put on here the core copper, the cod liver oil, and the fulvic humeric minerals, which will give you all your other minerals you need. 60 out of the 90 essential nutrients are minerals. Also, remember we talked about how important it was for greens in your diet to help with pH and help with antioxidants and stuff. Well, we have something, Azure has a product called Super Greens Pro pH. Very powerful product. And this is actually a product that I use every day. In the morning, I usually have a smoothie, and that's what I use. I use a scoop of this, and I put the mushroom blend in it, and I put the turmeric ginger blend in it, and the fulvic humeric minerals, and that is my like morning drink. And so there is a good way to get your greens and help balance the pH. Another thing Azure has is a multi-B liquid. Now they have a activated B that's a capsule, and then they have a multi-B liquid, and very similar formulas. Obviously, a liquid's going to be more bioavailable, but this is a great way to get your whole food Bs that you need for skin. Now, two other things that are kind of basic nutrition that are really good for skin is pure collagen. Now, this one's a unique collagen product because it comes from fish. It's fish collagen.
It is tasteless, odorless. Yeah, you might be surprised.
There
You
you
should
go.
try it so you can give a better testimonial on Dr.
Yeah, I
Monzo.
need to try it. I need some more collagen.
There we go.
Get
There we
rid of
go.
these wrinkles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, collagen. And what does collagen help? Well, your skin is made out of collagen. So is your hair, nails, skin. And so you need the collagen to help make the hair, skin, and nails pliable and flexible. And so there's another basic nutrition. And then glucosamine sulfate. Well, this is more in the realms of connective tissue. So most of the time, people are going to think of the glucosamine more for your joints and things like that. But it does help build healthy connective tissue. And since skin, hair, and nails are a part of the connective tissue, it actually will help. My go-to would probably be the collagen first. Now, if you have hair, skin, and nail issues, and you also have joint problems, but then throw in the glucosamine. And that's the basic nutrition. So the next thing we're going to do is a little bit more specific. So what if the problem of the skin is the hormones and the stress and lack of sleep? Well, now we need to do something about the sleep and stress and hormones and some very specific things besides checking out podcast number 5, which was men and women's uh, health. And you can learn more about products that might balance hormones there. Here are some other products that are directly related. I always see a direct correlation between thyroid and skin health. I don't know if I can always explain why. I know thyroid requires copper, and maybe that's a correlation, but there does seem, well, energetically, uh, there's a couple pathways and cycles that relate to the thyroid. Mainly first, well, actually, there's a lot. There's first, fifth, and third. And all three of those cycles relate to connective tissue. One relates to the outer layer of skin, one relates to more of the actual joints, and the other one would be more of skin, nails, bones. So energetically, there's a direct correlation between the thyroid and the skin issues. But I've always seen that in my practice that oftentimes when people have skin issues, there's a thyroid issue.
Hmm.
Now, there's two products here: Thyroid Nourish, Thyroid Cleanse. So Thyroid Nourish is just like it sounds. This is vitamins, minerals, and herbals that help nourish and give support to the thyroid, the key nutrients the thyroid needs so it can function correctly. Thyroid Cleanse actually covers a additional category, and that is if the body needs more help detoxing. Thyroid Cleanse helps cleanse and get rid of toxins from the thyroid, but a lot of the ingredients that are in there, like chlorella and others, are going to help get rid of toxins and help the elimination channels throughout the body. So it's not just going to help cleansing the thyroid, but it's going to help cleanse the body, thus improving the thyroid function, but then also improving skin, hair, and nails because we're improving the elimination channels, we're improving the hormones at the same time. Racing mind relief with magnesium. Magnesium, another key mineral, very important for skin as well. But this one is designed for relaxing the mind, right? When the mind is racing and it can't stop, to get the mind to stop racing, balancing mood, balancing hormones to some degree. Why? Because magnesium is related to almost everything. There's over like 300 enzyme functions. No, 6. Is it 600? Like 3 to 600 enzyme functions that magnesium controls. Now, it controls more than that when you look at all the enzymes and neurotransmitters and hormones and other things that magnesium directly affects. I'm trying to think. There's a book out called The Magnesium Miracle. I think she said her research was like over 3,000 different functions in the body are related to magnesium. So very important. And this is another product you could use if your problem getting sleep is a racing mind and you just can't stop the mind from going crazy. This would be a great product. The other product that also helps with sleep and thus helps with skin for 2 reasons is melatonin liquid. And this is a plant-based source of melatonin, really interesting. And melatonin works hand in hand with melanin. And melanin is what makes your skin. So both the melatonin and the melanin are both, again, related to sun and the light cycles. When the sun goes down, then your body is going to produce more of the melatonin. When the sun comes up, your body is going to produce more serotonin. But melatonin and melanin are stimulated by being out in the sun. And so there's a correlation between these. And of course, the melatonin part of it helps your body with sleep. So another way to get good sleep and thus allow your body to recover and heal. Next,
Right.
you have anything to say about that one? Or
No, go ahead.
okay. Well, next, detox and gut support. So you can't forget IP6 Supreme. We've mentioned that before. The main thing that is for is pulling out unbound iron out of the body, or what we might call non-heme iron. So iron that's not bioavailable, that's not bound to your minerals, that's getting stuck in the tissues, and it can get into the skin, it can get in the way of the hair and the nails, and cause all kinds of problems with oxidative stress. So IP6, very important. Turmeric ginger powder, very good for a number of reasons. Turmeric, really powerful as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, along with the ginger. Could be really powerful for calming inflammation in the gut and helping the gut function better. There's all kinds of properties of ginger and gut health. So another way to really cool down the inflammation, antioxidants, and gut. Now, 2 other things that you could use are proteolytic enzymes. Proteolytic enzymes, and this is dual purpose. So these could be used as enzymes if you take them with meals, or if you take it away from meals, can be used more as proteolytic enzymes, which are enzymes that the body uses for almost like metabolic processes to break down things that aren't supposed to be in the body and get them out. So a lot of times proteolytic enzymes are good for scar tissue and fibrin and for mucus and clots, things in the body that are accumulating that's not supposed to be there. Break them down, get them out. But they're also good for breaking down stuff that's in the gut that's not supposed to be there. So if you have pockets of infections and stuff, help break down that stuff and get it out. And then taurine plus, because taurine is very important for the liver and liver function, and also thyroid. And it's an amino acid, so it has some importance to skin. But if we can get the liver eliminating, then we reduce the toxic load and then you help the skin. Now, I also put a little note here. Don't forget to check out other AzureWell podcasts
Mm,
because number two was digestion. So we got into a lot of supplements specifically. If you know your problem is the gut and you're having problems with hair, skin, and nails, it's a very probable chance that the fix the gut will fix the hair, skin, and nail issues.
mhm,
Let's see. We've kind of talked about detox throughout all of these. I think we covered more in detox in the digestion one.
mhm,
We might have covered a little bit in the immune one, which was number 4.
mhm.
So go back and look at those if you need extra support in some of these other areas.
So I have one more question for you, and
Yeah.
this may be, a subject all its own, but maybe you can hit it for just a couple of minutes here. We have fair-skinned people that get
Yeah.
burned really easy, and they don't wanna get burned. They wanna put on sunscreen, and I know that wintertime isn't the time to talk about that, but in the summertime, yes, fair-skinned people burn easy, put on sunscreen. What is the effect of that? Do you have a sound bite for that?
Soundbite, but effective. Well, unfortunately, most sunscreens are very toxic. Even in the natural world, what's the most common thing? They slather yourself with a bunch of zinc.
Mm,
And I think a lot of times it's zinc oxide. Might be wrong on that, but not the form of zinc you want. So even in the natural world, it's not good. And a lot of people in the natural health uh, very strongly believe a lot of the skin cancers today is not because of the sun, but because of all the stuff we're putting on our skin. And remember, another really important thing to understand about skin is it does help with the sweating and the breathing and the temperature regulation. So the skin breathes, you have pores. And when you cover those pores, you're blocking the excretion process of the body. So you're not allowing the body to detox. This is one of the big problems with lymph and breasts is we're not letting the breast detox. Well, the skin's the same way. If we're covering the skin up with stuff all the time and it can't detox, well, then you're going to have more problems. And at the same time, you're blocking the proper spectrum of light that's going to stimulate your D and stimulate the activation of A. So you don't want that. Now, one thing people don't realize is very low copper is often uh, a causal issue to burning easily in the sun
oh,
because
wow.
copper gives you your skin tone. So, as we have low copper and low retinol, so your healthy fats and your coppers, it's easier to burn.
Mhm,
So, one way to improve that is make sure you're getting a proper amount of copper, the core copper, and the Alaskan or cod liver oil is
mhm,
really important for healthy skin and getting some of your skin tone back. And then just slowly building up the time in the sun. If you're someone who burns easily, well, you don't need to be out in the sun for a lot of hours,
mhm,
a couple minutes, and slowly work your way up until your body gets used to the skin and starts getting a bit of a tan.
mhm.
Yep.
It sounds like better nutrition from the inside, fewer toxins coming in from the outside, making sure to not cover up what the body is naturally made to do,
Hmm.
and your skin will become more healthy. So
Yeah.
that's good. Well, Dr. Monzo, thank you. This has been very educational and helpful, and appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.